Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. This is a new video. Today I'm going to be talking about the mansions of the moon and about lunar mansion talismans. So this is actually the first video in a while that I'm putting on my main channel. So I'm also going to go a little bit into what I've been working on and all of that. But today the main subject is the lunar mansions. This is a very ancient type of Renaissance magic, very popular. It was important for Agrippa. It was important for the Picatrix. Okay, so these are the two like foundational texts for classical magic. Okay, so it actually, the very last chapter of the Picatrix gives descriptions of the lunar mansion talismans. So we're going to be going into that. So whether or not someone like really believes in this type of magic, even from a historical standpoint, it's very interesting. So what you do is you wait till the moon is in the lunar mansion that you want to work with, and there are 28 spirits, angels or lords of the mansions or rulers. What you do is you evoke the spirit of the lunar mansion and you get it to ensoul or give force to the talisman, which embodies that force. So we're going to be going into lunar mansions, as with my channel before, we're going to focus on the classical texts and classical magic. We're not going to talk too much about modern magic. We're going to kind of focus on the classics, kind of part of this whole revival type of thing. So we're going to be going into the lunar mansions today. And this is the first time in a while that I've put something on my main channel. So for those of you that don't know, I have like... Okay, I'm going to digress for just a moment here. On my Facebook, I put everything. So if you're on my Facebook, you're going to see all of my videos. On YouTube, I've been debating for years, like, I don't want to flood my main channel with just discussions or me just talking about what I've been working on. My main channel is mostly like instructional videos, usually very long videos. Often they're like an hour, sometimes even more, 45 minutes, things like that. So long, like instructional videos, I normally put on my main channel. But for a long time, I've wanted to just have more of a laid back, like I could respond to comments, I could respond to questions, maybe talk about my practice. So I've created a personal vlog, and that's where I've mostly been putting content, because I've been focused on answering viewer questions or kind of talking about my personal practice. So my personal vlog, also I may put something personal here or there, see something cool or travel, but mostly it's an occult channel, but it's just more laid back. So I've mostly been posting on my personal vlog. I've put up, I don't know how many, probably like 10 videos, 8 videos, on all on my personal vlog. So even though on my main channel, I haven't really been posting content, on my personal vlog, there's actually a lot of content that I've been posting this whole time. And then I have my Spanish channel. That's been my debate, as some of my viewers have seen for years. Like, what do I do with my Spanish videos? Do I blend it in with this channel? Well, I put it off in its own channel. So there's my main channel, Talisman McKnight Espanol, and then there's my personal vlog, which is still an occult channel, but it's more like laid back. So 3 channels on YouTube. On Facebook, everything is in one spot. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go into my personal practice here that I've been working on lately, because I go into that enough on my personal vlog. So let's dive right on into it, y'all. So the lunar mansions. This is a very ancient aspect of astrology, and there are different systems. So the Hindu system or Vedic astrology has 27 lunar mansions. And in Arabic astrology and Chinese astrology as well, there are 28 lunar mansions. So we can go to China, 28 lunar mansions, Arabic astrology, which influenced Europe, 28 lunar mansions. And then in Vedic astrology, they have 27 lunar mansions. Now, what are the lunar mansions? It's a way to divide up the moon going through the zodiac, more or less. But instead of 12, they're 28 or 27 if you use the Vedic system. So in the type of astrology that we use here that was popular in the Renaissance, a lunar mansion is roughly 12 degrees, 1 in 50 minutes or 51 minutes, 26 seconds. So classical astrology was very precise. Obviously, you have 360 degrees in a circle. 1 degree can be divided into 60 minutes. And I'm not talking about time. We're saying minutes and seconds, but it's not time. We're talking about within a degree to show where a planet or something is placed in classical astrology. So you have 360 degrees a circle. 1 degree has 60 minutes. And even 1 minute has 60 seconds. So pretty precise, especially for back then. So a lunar mansion is roughly 12 degrees, 51 minutes, 26 seconds, as Agrippa says. So yeah, and the moon goes all the way through the zodiac every 27.3 days. So it makes sense that there would be some debate. Is it 27 lunar mansions or 28 lunar mansions? But basically each lunar mansion, so the moon changes a little bit depending on where it is in the lunar mansions. And this creates like a whole system of magic. Okay? Like, yes, if you read like the Key of Solomon, it'll talk about the moon governs like a very specific aspect of things, just like Saturn is this or Mars is this. But the lunar mansions governs the whole range of everything. It's a whole cycle of creation and destruction. It's the whole, like all of creation could be placed in the lunar mansions. The lunar mansions can be used for love, career, knowledge, virtually anything. It's a whole system of magic, the lunar mansions. You can use them for virtually anything. So the lunar mansions, basically the moon goes through the 28 lunar mansions in the system we're using here, and each mansion has a spirit or angel or ruler, however you want to see it. There's a spirit of each lunar mansion, and you can create talismans. And what you do is you call the spirit, and you hold the talisman in the incense smoke while doing the conjuration and ask the spirit to give power or ensoul the talisman. Okay, so that it can embody that force. So this is very classical magic. You know, we're not dealing with the Hermetic Order, the Golden Dawn, or any of these things. We're talking about like classical texts, although they worked with that stuff too. So 28 lunar mansions. Now, the sources for this that I'm using here I just have, this is the Complete Picatrix by John Michael Greer and Christopher Warnock. That's just the version I have here. Dan Trell has made a translation of the Picatrix as well. There are different versions of the Picatrix, but this text was written probably around the 10th century. So again, this is not modern magic. We're focused. This is like a 10th century text, basically. Okay, the Gayat al-Hakim, the goal of the wise, the Picatrix. Okay, the Picatrix. This is a primary source for the lunar mansions. The Picatrix. Okay, another text that is a good source for this is the 3 Books of Occult Philosophy by Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa. Okay, this was written. It's 3 books, The first book was published in 1531, and then all three books were published in 1533. So we're talking about the 16th century. This is like the classic on magic and occultism in the Renaissance. Like, it was written in the 1500s, and it's one of those books that you just read if you were an occultist and during that time frame. Very important text. So we have Agrippa and we have the Picatrix. And I actually wanted to recommend a modern book, you know. This is like, if you want this simplified, if you just want to, you're just like, look, I don't want to have to read through the Picatrix, all this stuff. Like, just give me a book that'll explain simply how to work with this stuff. I want to recommend this book. I think this may be like Warnock's. I mean, of course, he did the translation of the Picatrix, but this is one of my favorites. Like, this is by Warnock, The Mansions of the Moon. And he actually has a mini course that he has. I can't really talk on that because I haven't taken the course, but this is a really good resource. The Mansions of the Moon by Christopher Warnock. Okay? He goes into how to work with the lunar mansions in a very simple way. And he even gives, these are lunar mansions from the Picatrix. Okay? So basically, he takes these lunar mansions, and this is by Nigel Jackson, that the artist that actually painted these. But yeah, this is a very excellent resource. So, the lunar mansions, how does this work, y'all? So, let's take a look. Let's flip to the Picatrix. All right. Now, there are two places in the Picatrix that talk about the lunar mansions. The first one is Book 1, Chapter 4, okay, the Picatrix. It goes through the different lunar mansions, and it outlines, you know, what are their qualities. Now, Book 1, Chapter 4 seems to focus on electional astrology, like when is an auspicious time to do something. Now, my approach with magic is that we shouldn't just accept things, you know, we should try them out, you know, see how it works. Like, I recommend, like, if people want to try, like, partaking of activities in accordance with its lunar mansion, see what happens, you know, see if you get better results in life by moving with the lunar mansions. Now, if you think about it from one perspective, you're basically going with the tides of nature. Let's say that this is true, that there are lunar mansions that have an astrological force upon us. If that is true, then you're going with the current when you use auspicious time. So there's like two different ways to work with astrological forces. I guess one way to look at it is like a passive and active. Okay, the passive way, it's not really passive, but you're not like invoking a force. One way is to just work with astrological forces by choosing like an auspicious time to ask for a raise or whatever, an auspicious moment. That is kind of like going with the flow of nature instead of fighting against it. You're moving with, you're not swimming against the current, you're swimming with the current. And if you look at mankind as a microcosm, a reflection of nature, okay, then you could say that we are also aligning our microcosm with the macrocosm, the interior and exterior worlds. We are putting ourselves in sync with nature, working in accordance with it. So Book 1, Chapter 4 goes into like auspicious times to do different things. And then when you get to Book 4, Chapter 9, let me get to that. It talks about the different talismans that you can make, and it describes them. So let's take a look here, sirs and madams. Something interesting here is that this is not all like peace and white light magic, you know? It's not. If we go to Book 4, Chapter 9, what does it say for the first mansion? What does the talisman do on the first mansion? Well, it's how to bump off an enemy. So yeah, thanks Picatrix, you know. First mansion. While the moon is passing through this mansion, Yeah, basically, it talks about how to like get rid of an enemy. And then the second mansion talks about the removal of anger. Um, Third mansion is for the acquisition of all good things. The fourth mansion is for obtaining enmity. Okay. Fifth mansion for receiving good things from kings and high officials. You have to remember this is written in the 10th century. Now, a lot of these like spells, they talk about basically making the image, for example, from wax and mastic, like blended together and suffumigated with a very specific perfume or incense. Um, which you can do that, you can do that. But also paper talismans, while some people frown upon it, some purists, they don't like paper talismans, like the Key of Solomon tells you in certain like the Rabbi Solomon version of the Key of Solomon basically just right out says, um you can make talismans from parchment or from paper. Okay. So, and even if you look at the PGM, they used papyrus a lot of times for talismans. So while you can go buy the book with the Picatrix and, inscribe the image in an iron ring, for example, you could also use a paper talisman or use something else. The incense itself kind of gets correspondences. Now, incense is very interesting, Someone recently asked me to talk a little bit about incense and magic with these types of classical practices. Now, something interesting about burning incense is it has a correspondence with a planet and it permeates the atmosphere. You're permeating the atmosphere. It creates like an aura, an energy, like it permeates the whole atmosphere of the room with the correspondence or the essence of the planetary force. So if we're looking at, for example, Agrippa's three models, okay, we have the divine or intellectual world of the divine ideas or archetypes. We have the second or celestial realm, the realm of astrology, and then we have the material working with stones and plants and herbs. So according to Agrippa, for example, and the Picatrix as well, which is where Agrippa gets a lot of his stuff, is from the Picatrix. And the Picatrix itself is a compilation of earlier things, I mean, you can go to the Asclepius. You can go to some of these texts from late antiquity. They talk about correspondence. How our world is a reflection of a higher world, okay? That plants and stones and animals and colors and things like that, metals, are associated with different planets and stars. And if you look at a lot of grimoire magic, you're mostly like interacting with spirits of astrology. You're working with the spirits of the planets and of the stars, of the deacons, the 72 angels of the Shemhamphoresh, angels, which govern the quinaries of the zodiac. Every 5 degrees has a different angel. So it's like we're dealing with the peopled cosmos, a universe that is alive. And if you look at it from a certain perspective, interacting with these spirits, you're in a way making friends with the universe, because these are the forces that are believed to be behind the cosmos, okay, that keep the machinery of the universe running. And there are many modern interpretations that it's psychological or that they are personifications merely. There are many types of things, okay? But at least in the context of the grimoires, it does seem like you're interacting with something that is sentient and conscious. But yeah, the lunar mansions. Burning incense and holding a talisman in the incense smoke. The Picatrix, for example, it talks about, there's a place in the Picatrix where it gives a very simple way of doing astrological magic, is to dress yourself in the color of the planet. We're not talking about lunar mansions here. We're talking about planetary magic in the Picatrix. Dress yourself in the color of the planet, for example, gold for the sun. Have correspondences of the planet. Hold the talisman that has the images of the planet and the incense of the planet. Recite the Orphic Hymn. So you're reciting the Orphic Hymn. Again, I'm not talking about lunar magic. I'm talking about planetary magic and the Picatrix. Hold the talisman in the incense smoke. Recite the Orphic Hymn. So holding the talisman in the smoke of the incense is a very common denominator that you see in different forms of classical magic. The Key of Solomon, the Clavicula Solomonis, okay? The Key of Solomon. A lot of times you're holding a talisman in the incense smoke and you're reciting psalms, things like that, conjurations, the Heptameron. So you see in a lot of these classical texts, incense is a very important thing. It's a very ancient type of thing. But holding a talisman in the incense smoke, what they call suffumigation, and reciting an invocation of the spirit to imbue it with a force is part of the inherent technology in a lot of these classical grimoires, okay? So basically what you would do is you would pick a lunar mansion that is in accordance with your goal, wait for the moon to enter that lunar mansion, you look up who is the spirit of the mansion, light the candle, you may have an altar set up with lunar things and colors and all of that. Light the candle, light the incense that is lunar. One incense that I recommend, now the Picatrix Book 4, Chapter 9 give very specific incenses for different goals. Like one lunar mansion, it may say burn sandalwood, okay? But aloes, agarwood, or aloes. Agarwood is given in Agrippa as a sign to the moon. In Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy. Aloes is listed in the Key of Solomon as an incense of the moon. One of my favorite families of the Key of Solomon is actually the Rabbi Solomon, because I don't know, I've just always been interested in like the Heptameron and all of that. But right here in the Rabbi Solomon, it lists aloes or agarwood as an incense of the moon. Now, ideally, if you're making a specific talisman and the Picatrix says use sandalwood or something else, I would do that, But, also agarwood or aloes. Agarwood is associated with the moon in Agrippa and various versions of the Key of Solomon. In the Picatrix, it's listed, aloes. And then even if you go into modern magic, like 777 lists aloes. It's not aloe vera, y'all. It's agarwood. And I hear cars racing outside, so that's nice. They should take it down a notch, I don't know. I'm rusty, y'all. I haven't been making videos on my main. I'm used to like a laid back format. So I just got to pick up and, yeah, I'm a little rusty, but, it's the first time I've really made like a formal video. By the way, while I've got you here, I know I'm all over the place in this video, y'all. On YouTube, I have 3 channels, okay? My Spanish, my main channel that you're watching now, if you're on YouTube. And 3, I have my personal vlog, which is mostly where I've been posting. I've got like 8 videos, 10 videos on my personal vlog that I've made between like now and like the last time on this main channel. Like I've mostly been posting there this whole time. It hasn't been on my main channel. Be sure and check out my personal vlog. But Facebook as well. I put all of my stuff in one spot on Facebook. Now, if for whatever reason, you want to see my content on Facebook, but you don't want to like add me per se, you could follow. And, I upload stuff directly to there. And then I've got my personal vlog. So below in the description box, I'll pin a comment, on YouTube, links to all of that in case you're interested, in case you don't want to miss out, on my videos. So yeah, basically you choose your lunar mansion, choose your talisman, get the incense, light the candle, call on the spirit of the mansion by name, tell the spirit what you need, hold the talisman in the incense smoke. Okay, that's part of the technology while you do the invocation. The Picatrix lists invocations, or it tells you what to say. You can go by heart as well. That's basically it, you know. Thank the spirit, tell it goodbye. That's an important detail. Maybe it's not always listed. Tell it goodbye, farewell, you can go. Snuff the candles, you've got your talisman. That's basically it. So pick the time, look, see what image you need, the name of the spirit. Agrippa lists names of the spirits, the Picatrix lists names. At the moment that you would do the talisman, light the candle, light the incense, call on the spirit by name, tell it what you want, hold the talisman in the incense smoke while you recite the invocation. Okay? It's that simple, really. And what was I going to say? Dang, it was on the tip of my tongue, y'all. What was it? So I really recommend this book by Warnock, The Mansions of the Moon. He did a really good job on this, And it's all like classical sources and things like that, And it even gives mansions that, let's say you wanted to do a paper talisman, which is traditional. Paper talismans are absolutely legit. According to the Key of Solomon, you have papyrus used in the PGM. So if you didn't want to inscribe it on an iron ring or something, or melt wax and storax together in a crucible, you can do a paper talisman. I really recommend this. Mansions of the Moon by Warnock and the art by Nigel Jackson. He did a really good job on this. I had something really important that I wanted to say, and then I forgot what it was. I'm rusty, y'all, but I'm getting back up, I've got so much stuff planned. I'm already doing it, I'm already making videos. Go look at my personal vlog. I've been talking about my practice, all kinds of stuff. So I'm back, y'all. I'm back. Yeah, it's got all these sources, I mean, I have Agrippa. I have the Picatrix, but he even, copies a lot of that material. He's even got a thing in here that lists the dates for the different lunar mansions. So that's really cool. If you don't get anything else, I would get this. I would check it out. Mansions of the Moon by Christopher Warnock. He did a good job on this. Good job, Warnock. Warnock's the man, He's awesome. And of course, this is by Asterion, I'm really grateful for the different people in the occult community. Warnock's doing a wonderful job. Asterion, this is a very common image that has the planetary archangels and the Olympic spirits, So I got Asterion's image. I really like it. Very common, But yeah, you basically hold it in the incense smoke. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Let's talk about astrological timing. Now, you could do the simple approach. Oh, the moon's in the lunar mansion. Boom. I'm going to do a talisman. You can do that, The Picatrix also says to look at the waxing and waning of the moon. Is the moon increasing or is the moon decreasing? Now, some people that are not very well informed, I might say, tend to think that this is a New Age concept of the waxing moon versus waning moon from neo-paganism and Wicca. But this is actually found in the Picatrix. The Picatrix says, for works of destruction or diminution, work with the decreasing or waning moon or new moon. and for works to bring in good things, okay, to bring in wealth or love, whatever, work with the waxing or growing moon or full moon. The Key of Solomon says the same thing. This is a very ancient concept. So you need to consider, you could just do the lunar mansion, but also you might want to look at the phases of the moon. If you're trying to bring something into your life, you want the moon to be waxing or full, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about magical timing, in case you really wanted to be like precise. Something interesting is that the Picatrix, this isn't a New Age book, this is from the 10th century. The Picatrix, around that time, the Picatrix says that you should believe in your works to be effective. So that's not a New Age concept. You should believe in your works. Let's take a look. We're looking at the Picatrix, Book 1, Chapter 4. It says here, furthermore, they ought to believe firmly in the works that they do with images, so that what they do will be true and without doubt. Nor should they harbor doubts concerning its effectiveness, since this work is not done in order to test or prove whether it be true or not. Rather, they should have faith in their mind that it be true. By this, the rational spirit is strengthened and joined to that virtue of the upper world from which proceeds the celestial spirit that acts in the image. And in this way, what is desired will come to pass. Thus, it is necessary to believe firmly, because it is by this that the image will have power to call upon the cooperation of the intelligence, and of all the primary and principal intelligences and all the intermediate intelligences. Among all these intelligences, the human soul or intellect is clearly the lowest that can call upon the cooperation of others. And then only when it operates and cooperates with a firm and full intention and diligence, and with greatest solicitude. This is called faith in a proposition. Faith moves mountains. In other works of craftsmanship, if the craftsman is not diligent, solicitude and full intention can accomplish the work, but only rarely in making images will this function and complete the work. Now, let's go into timing. We're going to go a little further down in this same chapter, Book 1, Chapter 4. It says, the foundation of all this is that you should see to it that in all good works, the moon is safe from Saturn and Mars and their aspects, and from the combustion of the sun, and is joined to the fortunes by good aspects, that is, the trine and sextile aspects. And all these see to it that the moon separates from one fortune and applies to the other. Do the opposite in works of evil. And then it goes further into like how you need to have faith. You need to believe in these things for it to work properly. Again, that's not a New Age concept. Having faith or belief is important according to the Picatrix. And this is a medieval text. It's before the Renaissance. The Renaissance didn't even happen when this was written. This is medieval. Medieval is before the Renaissance. It says, one who practices magical arts ought to believe in his workings without any doubt regarding the work, because this is how the practitioner is well disposed to receive the aforesaid effects and the virtues from which he intends to make. This disposition, achieved in this manner, cannot exist outside of man alone, but the disposition that is in other conscious beings is the way in which they receive sensations according to their own proper nature, as wax easily receives forms impressed into it, just as daimons receive their daimonic powers, because their bodies are disposed to receive what is suitable for daimons, and this is because their feeble bodies are made impotent to resist this. So in other words, believe in the works. Now, what is it talking about timing? Now, like I said, you can try it. Oh, it's in this mansion? Okay, I'm going to make this paper talisman, wave it in the incense smoke, calling the spirit boom. You can do that. You want to go a little deeper here. You want to first of all look at the phases of the moon. Now, these are two different things. Lunar mansions have nothing to do with moon phases. Nothing. Okay? Moon phases have to do with the moon's interaction with the sun. The lunar mansions have to do with the moon's interaction with the earth, or rather with the zodiac, okay? So the moon could be waxing or waning in any mansion. It could be full in any mansion, okay? So these are two different things. But the Picatrix says to bring in like job, money, like you want to bring things into your life, work when the moon is growing or full. If you want to destroy, okay, because we have creation and destruction. If you want to destroy something or dissolve something or make something less than it was, diminution as it says, work when the moon is decreasing. So you don't want to work for wealth while the moon is waning. Again, astrological magic is very much based on timing. In fact, it's a magic of time, okay? It's based on timing. It's like the whole point of the system is like timing. You don't bring in wealth when the moon is decreasing. So look at the lunar phase as well as the mansion. Now, what is it talking about? Fortunes and infortunes. So, what it's saying is, now, I would work with the planetary hour of the moon. I don't think Warnock mentions that, or does he? And I don't think the Picatrix. I would work with the hour of the moon. That's what I would recommend. You know, their planetary hours apps, hour of the moon. It would be really awesome if you had the moon on the ascendant, meaning rising in the eastern horizon or overhead, like at the midheaven. These are PowerPoints. But what the Picatrix says is to avoid the infortunes, which are Saturn and Mars. Now, is this saying that Mars is bad or Saturn is bad? No. But nature has all different aspects, okay? Nature has hurricanes. Nature has tornadoes. Nature has disasters. Nature can be harsh. And there are two different reasons for that with these planets because they're different energies. Mars could be very aggressive and destructive. Saturn is all about putting boundaries and limits, okay? So when the moon is aspected to Saturn, it could limit results, according to this theory. When the moon is aspecting Mars, it could make things a little destructive. So it's not saying that Saturn is bad or Mars is bad. It's saying that the energies could hamper a working. Okay? They're called the infortunes. And yes, a lot of modern practitioners don't like this. It's demonizing the planets, they might say. But really, it's just that Mars could bring a destructive quality to the working. And Saturn could put limitations. Okay? That's if you're trying to bring something into your life, work like a benefic type of magic. Now, in more modern astrology, it's okay as long as it's a positive aspect, meaning sextile or trine, okay? Whereas in the more classical view, you don't want any aspects with the infortunes if you're trying to bring something good into your life or someone else's life. So you just want to avoid aspects of Saturn and Mars with the moon. Aspects have to do with like degrees of difference. They make like angles with the planets. It's very much a part of astrology. I don't think I really have time to explain that here. We're already at like 40 minutes, but see, I usually make longer videos on this channel, my main channel. All of it's going on Facebook though. So what it says is to work with the lunar phase and to work when, you know, try to avoid the infortunes, meaning Saturn and Mars, for positive workings, okay? It says do the opposite for destructive works. It says if you're trying to work evil or mischief, you want to bring in these forces. So you may want it to be aspecting Saturn and Mars for those types of workings. A lot of modern practitioners don't like this idea of fortunes and infortunes, but this is traditional magic, like classical magic. It's how they saw things, okay? Now, it's not saying that those things are bad, because the universe is a reflection of God, the divine mind. Everything has a place in nature, you know, just as much as yeah. For positive workings to bring something into your life, it's helpful if you have Venus or Jupiter, which are called the fortunes. Anything that Venus or Jupiter touch in this type of magic, it brings like really positive types of things. So if you can have them aspecting Jupiter or Venus in any way, that's sextile or trine. Again, I don't really have time to explain those here. Those are positive aspects, friendly aspects with Jupiter or Venus, then that's good, but like not in opposition or square, which are aspects of enmity. So basically, lunar phase, it's in the mansion. Try to avoid Saturn aspects of the moon with Saturn and Mars. Try to bring in the fortunes of Jupiter and Venus, okay? And in addition to that, the text actually says that let's say that the conditions are just awful, okay? It says here that if you can put Venus or Jupiter on the ascendant, which is the eastern horizon, like it's rising, or in the midheaven, directly overhead, if you could put one of the fortunes, which is Jupiter or Venus, in the ascendant or midheaven, it could rectify an unfortunate moon. So that's interesting. So let's read this again, what it says here. The foundation of all this is the Picatrix, Book 1, Chapter 4. The foundation of all this is that you should see to it that in all good works, the moon is safe from Saturn and Mars and their aspects, and from the combustion of the sun. That's within like 8 degrees of the sun, because the sun tends to overpower them. Without combustion of the sun, and is joined to the fortunes, which are Jupiter or Venus, either one, by good aspects, that is trine and sextile aspects. And all these see to it that the moon separates from one fortune, applies to the other. That's not really necessary. Do the opposite in works of evil. So if you're wanting to create chaos and destruction, you could bring in the Saturn and Mars. I just got a message, y'all. All right, here we go. Well, there was another thing here. Where was it? You know, you can look at other things, you know. But yeah. Also, like, yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Some people would say, like, also look at the sun, because the sun affects everything. The Key of Solomon calls the sun and moon the eyes of heaven, okay? Because anything you touch is going to be affected by the sun and moon. Obviously, the sun affects everything. And the moon, the Picatrix actually says that the moon gathers. The moon is a satellite of the Earth. The moon gathers all the forces of all the planets and pours them upon the Earth. So the moon is like a filter in this system. The moon circles the Earth. It gathers all the forces of all the heavenly bodies and it pours them out. Pours those virtues out over the Earth. So the moon's like a filter. If the moon is like in a bad state, not just for lunar mansions, but any type of working, it's going to affect a working according to this theory. So that's basically it. Try to have the lunar mansion, look at the moon phase, again, to bring things into your life, waxing or full moon, and try to avoid aspects with Saturn and Mars. And it actually says, if the moon is unfortunate, the Picatrix says bringing Jupiter or Venus, the fortunes, either on the ascendant in the eastern horizon or in the midheaven overhead, can rectify an unfortunate moon. So as always, I encourage people to try this out. Try it out, you know? Do a lunar mansion talisman. Now it's interesting because the Picatrix says that you shouldn't be doing this stuff just to test it and see if it works. You should want what you're trying to get. Okay? You shouldn't do it just to test it, you know? And it talks about faith, having faith in the working. Try to just temporarily, you don't have to just follow this like a cult. No. Learn to temporarily suspend disbelief. Just allow yourself to believe it. And work for something that you really want, something important to you. and try it out. Try it out. Look up the lunar mansion for what you want. Get the image. Have the moon waxing to bring in, waning to decrease. Try to avoid aspects with the infortunes, bring in the fortunes. I mean, that's basically it. Try to avoid combustion. And I'm going to talk about these things more, explain these concepts. I really recommend this book, Mansions of the Moon, y'all, by Christopher Warnock. This is excellent. My thing with Warnock is he mostly just he just talks about the Picatrix mostly and Agrippa. So like if you have Agrippa and the Picatrix, you basically got it. But what Warnock does is he simplifies it. A lot of people are intimidated by something like the Picatrix, but Warnock like shows you that it really is simple. But this book is a different thing because it actually includes the talismanic images. So I really encourage people to try this stuff out, see how it works. I'm a little rusty. I apologize to my viewers. I'm a little rusty. I haven't done this in a while, like big long video. We're doing a presentation today, everybody. Hadn't done it in a while. But I'm getting back in the swing of things. I'm back. I'm not gone. I'm back, y'all. So that's basically it for today. Now, there's going to be more. I'm going to be doing more on this type of stuff. I'm going to be going a lot deeper, okay? Now, two things. If you want to see, like I've made a bunch of videos on my personal vlog, all talking about like what I'm working on in my occult practice, all kinds of stuff. Like my personal vlog, it's more laid back. I respond to comments. I make a video. Oh, I had a question. I'm going to make a video on it. It's laid back. My personal vlog, I've been posting there. You're missing out. If you want to see my content and you're not on my personal vlog, then like you're seeing a very small fraction of my videos. I've already posted like 10 videos, however many videos there in the last couple of weeks, whatever. I'm probably off on my time and number, but whatever. Recently, I posted a whole bunch of videos there, so you're missing out if you're not checking it out. Second of all, my Facebook, I'm putting, instead of 3 channels, on Facebook, I put everything. So I've got my Spanish channel, I've got my personal vlog I'm talking about, I got this main channel just for like the big stuff, On my Facebook, you get all of it. I'm going to put it in the link comment. I'm going to pin it to the top. And if you're on Facebook, you're already on Facebook, so don't worry about it. That's it for today, y'all. I'm going to have some more stuff coming out. I'm excited. I hope everyone's doing well on internet land. And that's just my brief talk on the Mansions of the Moon, y'all. And of course, there's Liber Lunae. There are other texts that you can look at for like lunar mansion workings, But the main ones are the Picatrix, and Agrippa goes into it a little bit. Agrippa mostly copies the Picatrix. The Picatrix is the great granddaddy of grimoires, It's legit. Again, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm doing it because I really believe this. I'm not getting any royalties off of this, y'all. I recommend this book. You want to check out Lunar Mansions? Warnock did an excellent job on this. Anyways, that's it. I'm going to have more stuff coming out for y'all. Check out my personal vlog or add me on Facebook if you want to see a lot of this content, because only a small portion of it's on my main channel. And I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great day, y'all.